Hello, gorgeous human beings of the channel. A summit of sisterhood for me, for you, for us. We are on our second call of the day today, and the summit is going so beautifully so far. I'm so happy with what's been happening on every call. Every speaker has brought something so unique and so beautiful. And also the responses from those of you watching, the comments that are being made. Everybody is just so generous with their love of this summit. And so thank you for who you're being. This really is such an incredible way to capture the speakers speaking. We've got the perfect energy in the audience. So thank you all so much for listening the way that you're listening. And so today we're bringing on a participant that had a very different kind of career when she came in. And it was interesting to navigate, her story, her past, her energies. Like, she's got such a cool story, and she's gonna share that with us in a moment. But what I love about this is really being able to show, no matter what background you're coming from, no matter what you think, oh, I don't think I'll ever be able to understand this stuff. This is not what my background is. This is not, there's been a woman with every different kind of background. And I feel like we haven't yet had a story like Chavet's. This is a completely new storyline, something we've never heard before. And so I'm excited to bring her forward so she can share her story and her light and how she sees the world. And so without any further ado, I would love to have Chavet come up and come meet me.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. Wow, the summit. I think it speaks volumes to where each of us are. So I think it's a great way for us to share with everybody who we are. And like you said, yeah, we're so different and so similar, you know?
And I feel
So
it's been such a crazy journey, like watching everyone 2 years later. Had we tried to put this summit on week 1 of the channel, this would have not been the summit we put on. This is it shows so much growth and so much integration and so much journeying to get here. And I think that's what makes it so much more impressive for all of us that have been in the channel, is watching how this is coming together is so beautiful. Seeing people come into themselves in this way has been a breath of fresh air.
yeah, it's a testament to where all of us are, for sure, including you. So thank you for being the leader in all of it. That's awesome.
It has been the greatest adventure. So I would love for you to share with us a little bit about you, like your background, your story. Who are you?
Well, I definitely can describe myself in one word. Let's just start with that. Um, so yeah, we all have a story. And, I was just sitting here before the call and I was like, okay, let me just see what comes through. And what was interesting is something came through that said, we are all shared DNA. And let's work together for the greater purpose of love. Because my message in life is always love. If we could make every decision with love, the world would be such a better place. So I didn't want to get emotional. I feel like we chose our parents. I just feel like that's just my personal belief. But anyway, so I happen to choose a mom that, for whatever reason, was an incredibly mean woman. And as many, I was her target. As kids that come from abuse, the parent will have a target, and I was her target. But I knew at my core that my purpose in this world was love. And I knew that coming to her meant that I was her opportunity to experience the purest love. It didn't matter what she did to me. It didn't matter that she found some sort of, I don't know, warped joy in torturing me. She loved to humiliate me. I think of the times that she would, I used to have really, really long, beautiful blonde hair. And she said, you don't take care of it. So I'm going to cut it off. So she cut it all off at 7 or 8 years old. Or she would like give me perms and fry my hair on purpose and then make me say thank you for what she did. Or just the physical abuse, and always that I was never going to be pretty. I was never going to be loved, but it didn't matter. And that's the point. It didn't matter what she said or what she did. I always wanted to do something for her. You know, if I was going to be baking, okay, if I can bake for my mom, if I can sew something, can I sew something for her? That's always been my heart. And that doesn't define us. We have to make a choice. And for me, growing up, I had very pivotal moments. Alcoholism runs in my family. So many isms run in my family, but I recognized it at like 9 and 10 years old. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. And I didn't do it. I could have been all the things that people expect to be, that I would be a child, the product of an abusive home or family. And that would mean, oh, of course, she's going to be an addict. Of course, she's going to fail in life. But I did quite the opposite. It was my charge to continue on. And I've been very passionate about, we have to break generational trauma. We have to break it. And so now I have 2 beautiful little boys. Those boys will never experience an ounce of what I experienced. And so I say, for them, it was worth it. For them, it was worth it. And if we can all take, those horrible moments, and rather than, diving in the depths of how painful it was and staying there and transition out of it through various modalities of healing, we really can heal the world. And that's what we should do, because we're strong and we're powerful. And if I'm emotional because I don't talk about it. It's not what I lead with. I lead in life with my heart. And whatever I can do for somebody, I do. Because I don't know how to be any other way. So if we can figure out what my core value is, love and integrity, because I wasn't shown any of those things as a child, but my spirit and my message, again, is unconditional love. So I left home as soon as I could, even though my mom had brainwashed me and told me nobody will love you, nobody will want you, you won't amount to anything. She told me that every single day of my life. But I had a voice inside of me that told me that wasn't true. And that voice was louder than her. So I left and I joined the military. I didn't know anything about the military. I went to the recruiter and they said, well, let's talk about it. I said, I don't want to talk about it. Well, don't you want to know? I'm like, the Navy has ships. I don't fucking know about any ships, but just show me where I signed the paper. And I did it. And my mom found out and she was so angry. She's like, you'll regret this. You'll regret this. And I had little angels along the way. Like, I wasn't allowed to have my license. I wasn't allowed to leave where I lived. So my recruiter took me, he's like, we're going to go get your license because you got to have your license. So we went. And so I used to always do stuff like on the back end. I'm like, okay, I got this. Whatever I got to do, I'm going to do this. And so, I went in and then, oh my God, boot camp. I was like, did I just fucking go from one abusive relationship to another? I didn't know that boot camp was such a short period of time. Thank God it was. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. But it was the best decision I made because it got me out. It got me out. And I use that to my advantage. And I stayed for 7 years, and then I said, "You know what? I think I could do more." They wanted me to stay longer, and I was like, "I don't want a glass ceiling. I gotta go. I gotta go." So I left, and then I went out and did some things, and I was working on another business, looking for funding for this business, and I was like, "But I'm running out of money. I gotta get a part-time job." So I go get this part-time job parking cars. Because I wanted to do a job where nobody told me what to do and they didn't want me to run their business. I'm like, okay, I'll go park cars. So I started parking cars. And then it was on a New Year's Eve, I'm working, and my boss walks into the establishment and says something horrifically sexual to the hostess. And the manager says, "Get out." So we pack our stuff and leave. And they call me and they say, "Hey, you've always run this business like it was yours. Get your license and get your insurance and we'll give you the contract." So 23 years later, I'm still doing it. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about a business. I didn't know how to do this job or anything. And I ran with it. And that's what I've been doing on top of, I also do real estate. So I do so many things because my drive is obviously success, but how can I also help others? So I also flip houses and I'm a landlord and all the things because I wanted to give people a beautiful home to live in. And I do this really fun thing when I'm ripping walls out of houses and the sheetrock goes up, I go through and I paint on all the walls love affirmations so that the love is just emanating through the walls. And the last house I did, the people that purchased it from me, they said, "There's something about this house." And I was like, "Yeah, there's something about this house." And I'm getting ready to do another one and I love it. But, it's just about love. At the end of the day, every single piece in our world is about love. And, I love to go behind people and do secret things to make them feel special. And, you know, that's just who I am.
And where do you receive from now? What are your most beautiful places of receiving love?
Probably from my children. My children are, they're directly and indirectly rewiring. The rewiring that's taking place and the reparenting that's taking place through them. I think that's where my biggest receive comes. And then also the mentoring that I do for women, but also the mentoring that I do for all of the young men that I hire. I mentor them to be successful and tell them it doesn't matter what you've been through. You're gonna succeed. Just keep at it. We got this, no
And
matter
so
what it is.
what made you decide you wanted to, on top of the parking garages and on top of the real estate and the flipping houses, on top of all that, that you would also add this mentoring division? Like when did that become clear, this coaching division?
I mean, I've wanted to coach my whole life. I knew I would be on a stage. I knew I wanted to be on a stage mentoring women for sure. And then the online world blew up and I was like, how do I do this? I have the experience of life, and the intention. How do I help women rise? Because I think a lot of people are afraid to move forward in life on their things. And I say to people often, your greatest fear is your greatest accomplishment. Because if we would move past the fear, you're going to just be blown away. You're like, oh my God, like, why was I afraid of that to begin with? But we don't know that unless we try.
So do you feel like that's what people come to you the most for? They've got a fear or there's something in their life that's blocking them and they come release it so they can move forward with you?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I have this beautiful gift where I can hear the truth when someone's speaking, even though they don't realize what the truth is. It's like asking a question and then you get the real question. And I listen to what people are saying and then I'm like, okay, well, can we go to the real question? Let's rip that Band-Aid off. Let's make that, let's get there. Because if we get there, we've got it.
Do
And
you
I'm
have a
gonna
story you could share with us, an example of what that might look like?
of ripping a Band-Aid off.
Of like someone bringing you a question and you're like, I get the feeling that's not the question.
Oh, like a specific one. Goodness.
And I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, it won't come because you're putting me right on the spot.
Yeah.
One will come. One will come. I think fear holds us. I mean, naturally it holds us back, but this other thing is that if we would talk about what we need to talk about in life, we would find out that we're more of a community than we are separated. And when we keep quiet, we become isolated and we think no one else is experiencing what we're experiencing, but they are. And others are as well. So I encourage people to speak openly, like find someone that you can have that, is your confidence or confidant, or a community like this where we can speak and there's no judgment, no pedestals are needed. Let's just have a conversation. It's amazing what leaves your body once you are open and honest, and you're like, oh my God, you've experienced that too. Wow. You're totally burnt out because you have children under 5 and you don't get any sleep. Imagine that. Like I tell people, if you run into a bitchy woman, ask her how old her kids are. She's probably sleep deprived, food deprived, all the things. So have grace and understand,
So, what do you feel is the most important thing when a person is deciding that they want to work on themselves and that they want to move past their fears and they want to be love. That's what they want. But there's all this resistance from maybe some past anger and resentment, or people in their lives that weren't kind to them or that hurt them, and it's hard for them now to lean into love because there's just so much pain in the way.
It takes time. It takes maturity. It takes a tribe, to really hold the space for you. And, there has to be a point, and I'll say to people I work with, I'll say, how's that working out for you? Stay in, like we can have a pity party. That's fine. We can do that. And woe is me. But there is a point where you have to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and get on with the getting on. So we can stay and wallow, but that's not going to get you where you want to be. That's not going to get you healthy. That's not going to get you successful. That is absolutely not the road to success. And as we all know, success is very different for each of us. Success can just be a healthy, happy family. Success can be taking vacations, living on the road, whatever it is. But if we stay in the muck, we're not getting out of it.
At the beginning of this talk, you shared something about how you could have become the product of,
Yep.
an abusive home and an addiction in the family. You made some decisions that made it that you're here where you are today, and those are for sure not easy decisions always.
No.
But what fueled that? Like, what was it in the back of your mind that, because so well it could have gone another way. I'm sure you've seen people that definitely went the other way and they gave you their life excuses. You were like, you want to hear mine? I know, but I didn't go there. Like, what
Yeah.
do you think kept you on the track that you chose?
My connection to the divine source, whoever you choose to call it, God, Christ, all the things, all the deities, whatever it is. I used to have conversations with God on a regular basis. And I would say, God, please just get me to 15. Just get me to 16. Okay, get me to 17. Okay, we're almost there. I'm gonna make it out of here. I know I am. It's divinely led or sheer will. I mean, when I was in 6th grade, I went to the school counselor and I said, listen, you're not gonna get the family together to do counseling. Not happening. I just need you to tell me how to survive my mother. Like, just get me to the next stage. That's all I need. You don't need to call anybody. It's not going to change. And it hasn't changed. I saw my mother for the first time 3 years ago. Before that, it had been 20 years since I had seen my mother. And in front of my niece was getting married, and it was the first. I don't get invited to family functions. I'm the black sheep of the family because I speak the truth. And when I saw my mother, my little girl was like, lean in and hug her. She didn't realize she was walking right into me. And I was like, okay, Chavet, just do it. It's okay. It's okay. Do what you preach. Do it. You got this. And I reach in to hug her, because at the end of the day, I still love her. I can look at her as a human and say, you're deeply flawed. I don't give her excuses, but she's deeply flawed, and it is what it is. And I reached in to hug her, and she threw her hands up at me and said, no, in front of everybody. And then proceeded to spend the next 6 hours pretending like I wasn't in the room. It was the most bizarre experience ever. And it showed me what other healing work I needed to do, which was fine. I used it to fuel that. So I say that to say that you have to be very aware of the triggers. And okay, I recognize that this is still a problem. I need to go work on this. So it's self-acceptance and self-responsibility. Do you want to fall on the cross of woe is me? Because yeah, life is shitty. Life is really fucking shitty. Or you find a way to work through it and move through it. Because what's your greater purpose? What's your reason? You know, what's your why? My why is love and success and security.
Do you feel like the military helped you stay strong and tough when you look back? What are some of the biggest takeaways you took away from there?
No, I was already strong. I survived the military because I was strong.
You don't feel it made you stronger. What do you feel it did give you?
It gave me structure, and it gave me a way to. I was isolated from the world. So I lived in the country, and I wasn't allowed to go anywhere except to school. So I had no skills to go out into the world and know how it worked. So the military introduced me to life in a military way, right? But you know, I did have a moment where I was a chef in the military. So I was serving all these generals and commanders and all these men that I was petrified of authority because of my mother. I was petrified. And so we were about to declare a war, and I'm in the room serving these men. And before their meeting started, I'm listening to them talk, and they're talking about their children and their granddaughters and their grandsons and their families. And I had that light bulb moment where I'm like, wait, they're just men. They're just men. And it completely changed my viewpoint on authority moving forward. I wasn't as afraid. I was still extremely respectful, rightfully so. But I didn't have the fear of authority anymore. And that was powerful.
That's really beautiful. So if you were to describe the way your life is now, like what matters to you? What do you love? What does a day look like in your life, and how does that feel? And what's life now?
Life now is my family. Literally every minute of my day, I'm like, and not in an obsessive way, in a healthy way. I live in 2 states at the moment. Okay. Imagine living in 2 states, and I commute from North Carolina to Florida because I wanted my boys to have the best possible school and life experience that they can. and they're at a beautiful school that's primarily outdoors. So they're doing class with the deer and the squirrels and all the things, because that's my motivation, is that my boys have the best experience that they can. I want to shield them from trauma the best I can. I don't want to protect them from difficulty and the things that give us a little grit in this world. But if I can help make them the most productive human beings in the world, that's it. That's it. And of course, my husband, who I adore, but we make those sacrifices because we want them. We want them to have a better life than we did.
Are you happy?
Yeah, I am.
That's awesome. Sometimes we hear stories of people who go through really difficult times and then they overcompensate with huge things. And when you ask them if they're happy, they tell you they're busy. This is one of the things
Yes.
I've seen a lot in my life. You'll ask a person that has worked so hard to make up for pain, but when you ask them what life is like, that they filled it so full, they can't feel it. And what I love about what you did is that you made it just right. You made a home for yourself, for your husband, for your boys. You created a life that feels like home. You didn't go so far beyond the values to try to avoid ever having to deal with them. You literally brought them back and you rewired what family meant. You rewired what home meant. You rewired what safe meant. You rewired what structure meant. You rewired what every single thing that you could have missed and blamed the world for not having. And then you could have built a life that was very different and bypassed all those things and said, those things weren't in the cards for me. Instead, I only have success. But you built success as well. You took everything you were dealt, you took that hand that you were dealt, and you just reshuffled it and built a home, a successful career, a successful marriage, a beautiful family, and you're happy. What a beautiful thing.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what would you say, and I want to talk about this because I think it is important, like, it's not always a perfect happy ending. We hear the story about with your mom, she didn't get it. It didn't change.
No.
What can you say to people who got this need for everything to be perfect in order for it to feel like they've made it? Like they would get so distracted by the one thing that they wouldn't give themselves the right to have what you've built, because they'd be so distracted by the one person who never changed. Like, how do you forgive that?
Well, it's a very active choice, right? So I call it snakes in your head. Like, you can listen to the snakes in your head, or you can just get on with the getting on. It's sad when for me, the voice in my head was stronger to succeed than it was to just curl up in a ball and cry about it. Right? Because I grew up with zero motherly love. Like, zero. So, like, where do you go from that? The person that's supposed to love you in life, no matter what, is supposed to be your mom. Okay, well, I wasn't dealt that deck. I can't lay down because I have so much to share with the world that's more powerful of a drive and a desire and need than that. Focusing on her isn't going to get me there. So whatever, again, it's what's your why? What's your why?
What really touched me with what you said before also, which I think is such an important piece for everyone to remember, is this feeling of this is every day I get up and I make sure that my kids have the thing, like I make sure my relationship is working. I make sure my work is working, and I'm adding new careers. Like, I'm working on me. I'm doing what makes me happy instead of just getting lost in what makes me sad. And the thing that's so beautiful is these conversations with God that you had, saying, just get me to 15. You didn't pray, God, change my life, give me a better mother. You didn't say, make her understand. You didn't say, change her. You said, make me survive 15, make me survive 16. When the counselors came and they said, let us help you, you didn't say, help her. She's the problem. If she can change, I'll be fine. You said, help me survive this. And I feel like these are some of the codes of greatness that we often miss, is that it's the person with the willingness to say, give me the tools I need to make this right, not make this right for me, not make the circumstances change. Help me survive the circumstances. And how often in our life do we pray for things to get easier and for people to change, instead of actually praying for strength, instead of praying for the ability to move forward, instead of praying for the tools? And what would your life look like if those were the kinds of conversations you had with God, with Mother Nature, with the universe, with Source? If what you were really saying is, get me through this year, get me through this difficult season in business, get me through my child's difficult time, just help me lead them the best this one time, this one year, or this one phase. Please help me through this rough patch in my marriage. Just get me through. Give me the strength to get through this conversation. Give me the strength to start the business. Get me the strength to get through this rough patch financially, instead of send me ease, send me money, send me a person that's going to get me out of this. Because what you end up becoming when you ask for the strength is a person who can do even more than what you thought. You prayed to God that you could survive till 15 and 16, and that you could survive your mother, and instead you were gifted the strength to survive the military, to build two little boys that absolutely love and adore you, to build a marriage, to build a successful business, to build a strong financial structure for you and your family. You prayed for skills, and those skills built you a life.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is a choice. And I believe that it also comes in phases, right? Because maybe you're not ready in your 20s to do that. Maybe you're not ready in your 30s to do that. And that's fine. In my 20s, I was really fucking angry, but I still use that to fuel my fire. Like, I never was I was never stuck in it. I always had the fuel to go. It just changed over time what the fuel was. And, we're ready when we're ready.
Yeah.
you know
Like, if you had the chance to speak to the 20-year-old version of you, would you try to get her to do something different? Would you have it be exactly the same? What would happen if it was possible for you to speak to her?
I think it would be very similar, but I would have just said, it's okay. You're gonna be okay. Like, you may not know it, but it's gonna be okay. Because I didn't know. I wasn't 20 or 21 before, right?
Yeah.
I ask my sons almost every day, how am I doing? Is there something I need to do different? And it's funny to hear what they say, you know? But I have to ask, because I believe in full responsibility for our actions. And I like to keep my side of the street clean. If I've done something and I need to work on it, then I work on it. I apologize, and, I ask for forgiveness, and I keep going. But if we know people's intentions, right? That's the purest thing. People can do things and, was your intent to be mean? Was your intent, just to be hurtful? Probably not. I mean, depending upon who we surround ourselves with.
This is such a beautiful conversation. And what I love about your energy, which is, and I'm sure people can see in this group how different, this is a different energy. This is different. What I love about your energy is it's so matter of fact. And you have this balance of masculine and feminine, where the masculine is very solid. And it's like, I got me. I've got me. I've got the structure. I've got myself. I'm going to pick myself up, and I've got this. And you've literally cultivated feminine out of nothing. Like, you had no model for feminine energy, and you still somehow pulled it out of a rock. Like, when did it start that you really realized, like, okay, when did the anger drop, the masculine, like the military, when did the feminine start to come in?
Well, who's to say it has?
Well, because I feel it in you. If you were just masculine, I would know that. Like, there's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
the
Honest,
love and the care.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't want to sound cliche, but my sons changed me significantly. But then at the same time, you know, employing young men in college for 20 something years got me ready for motherhood. I
Mm.
wasn't ready for motherhood in my 20s. There was no way. I would have repeated the cycle 100%, even though I would have loved my sons at that point. I absolutely would not have broken all of those, that generational trauma for sure. No way.
So it feels like you put yourself in life situations, you moved forward as best as you could, and you let life guide the transformation, whatever needed to happen in order for you to be ready.
Yep.
Because there is a mothering nature about you. It's a beautiful thing. Even in the channel, you often, jump in and it's just like, just letting you know, I love you. You're beautiful,
That's,
sending
yeah,
positive vibes. Let's do this
yeah,
together. Like
yeah.
there's a lot of love that comes from you.
Yeah, absolutely. I want everybody to feel loved, but love isn't, the love I speak of is not the woo woo hearts and roses.
We
It's
get that. We're getting that. It's like, I freaking love you. Now sit down and shut up.
no, let's get on with the getting on. Do we want to stay stuck here for 5 years, 10 years? Like what's the goal? Yeah.
Turn the
Which is
page.
the math.
I love you. We're okay. Move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a solid love and it's a strong, confident love. And it's a love that doesn't, what I love about it is that sometimes when we've already had, this is okay, here's how I want to present it. There are people who have had experiences with their mothers, and I'm sure hearing this can be,
Oh,
quite,
we forgot to say trigger warning.
I
Holy
think the whole
Katie.
summit's a trigger warning. I think
Okay.
at this point, if you guys are still listening,
So
you're
sorry.
because every single person that's come here has a story.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of people listen to this and they think, gosh, am I allowed to be as angry with my mom as I am after I hear what your mom did to you? Like I've had a hard time with my mom and my mom didn't do any of those things. But what happens though is our feelings are very complex. And sometimes a person will feel like their mother was capable of loving them and she chose not to. Like she could do it for everybody else, but not them. Or she had, they had other siblings and somehow it went well with the other siblings and not with them. Or it felt like they were the exception. But I feel like for you, your mom was just going through so much. She just didn't really have it. And then on top of it, you were the target. Like there was a lot there. And so for you, the way, if you were to just all of a sudden be the super gushy, I love you, hearts and roses thing wouldn't feel authentic to you. What felt the most authentic was, what's the realest kind of love that I can feel right now? And if I can give you the realest kind of love, then you don't need to question it. Like I don't need to show you that I love you. I just need to love you. And that's enough because it's real and because it's true. And that's the way I feel listening to the story from you. It's like there are people in your life that just love you, and it isn't about showing you that they love you. It's just about what it takes to love you. And if you knew what it took for a person that hasn't been given that love to choose to love you, and you're still expecting roses, that's where our awareness of life needs to open. Where it's like when we start to hear about people's stories and we say, this is the truest kind of love that you have. And I'm comparing it to a love that I've known. Can I open my heart up to different kinds of love? And what I would love for the people listening to this here to get today is, how many people in their life have they maybe met that love the way you love, where it's like, I love you, now turn the page and let's go. Are we going to stay in the victim thing, or are we going to turn the page? Like, and I love you ferociously, I love you fiercely, and also I don't even give myself the time to be miserable about the things that you want me to be miserable for you for. So we're turning the page, but I love you. Like, how often do we get presented with people like that and think, well, if they loved me, they wouldn't be so rough. If they loved me, they would stay with me in this stuff. If they love me, they would blah, blah, blah. Sometimes we've got to recognize, like, if they loved me, they would be able to show me love when they never received it. And they did. And so they do. And so get with the picture. Like, people are capable of love beyond what they've ever received, but it might look different than if it was modeled to them every single day. And it's been so interesting in the channel to see the different energies, because there are people who said, I love you to everybody since day one. I love you guys all so much. And I'm so grateful to be here before even knowing people, and there are people who just like, okay, yeah, great call. Thank you so much. You guys rocked it and nailed it, and no matter what the energy was, it was everyone belonged in the love frequency, and no one could love wrong. It was just whatever you have to give and whatever you're available to receive, it's enough for the collective. And I think that's sometimes what happens. You pick one person in your life, you make that one person responsible for all the love, instead of looking for all the ways that all the people that exist give love and receiving it from all the people. You have a very special, beautiful kind of love, and it's different. It's different because it's not performative in any way. It's not like I am going to go overboard to try to make you feel loved. As a matter of fact, sometimes when you make an effort to say it, it's like sometimes you'll say something really nice to me and it shocks me a bit. I'll be like, oh, thank you. Like where I'm so used to other people being like, Melanie, I love you. And then you'll say something to me, I'm like, oh, thank you. Like there's different frequencies of love, and there's different ways that it's expressed. And I feel like this is such an important conversation for so many reasons. I think it's going to be healing for mothers and daughters. I think it's going to be healing for women who didn't receive the love that they needed. I think it's going to be healing for people who think because they've been hurt, they can't love after that. I think it's healing for people who had such a difficult experience being a child that they're afraid to be a mother, because clearly that those things can be very different experiences. I think it's healing for any woman who's got a lot of masculine energy and who wonders if she can belong in a room full of feminine energy. Yeah. Yes. 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 All yes.
Yeah, I agree. It's, when abuse does, it does what it does to you. And for me, it gave me a level of seriousness. I take life serious, and I really do. My sons help me with the lightheartedness for sure, which is really important. But I have a seriousness of, we have a purpose. It's, like there's that one book, what is it, a purpose driven life or something like that. Yeah. So we all have a purpose, and I'm serious about my purpose. And it's like we can overcome anything, whatever anybody is worried about. Just like when we're like, oh my God, so and so is not coming to the party, and we only focus on the person not coming, but let's focus on the person coming to celebrate you, coming to embrace you. And naturally it seems like the brain makes us think of what's not happening rather than what's happening. And I love everybody. I really, really do. And I just want more people to realize that just move beyond, do the work you need to do, but move beyond that, because that was a moment in your life. That's not your whole life. That was just a moment in time.
Unless you let it represent your whole life.
True. Yeah.
But you're an incredible example of what it looks like to not do that.
Yeah. I can't. It's not possible.
So what if you had a final word for people that are watching this today, and you could just say one last thing that they could really chew on for the rest of the day after hearing you speak, after hearing your story, after hearing what you've built, after hearing what you believe in, what's the last piece you would like them to chew on before the end of this?
You fucking got this. Do it. Whatever it is, do it. Like, you can do it. Like, seriously, if you're like, I can't, you can. Totally, you can do it. I've done this life primarily by myself and solo. You got this. Seriously. I mean that from the bottom of my heart, like with the most conviction.
With the most conviction. I feel that. I'm going to read your bio.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
Brace yourselves. This is one heck of a bio. Introducing Chavet, a remarkable visionary driven by a profound belief in the transformative force of love, the innate ability to perceive the unseen in others, and the talent to illuminate even the darkest shadows. Renowned as a manifestation genius and gifted with incredible psychic insights, she spent the last 23 years blazing a trail as a serial woman entrepreneur, specializing in the dynamic world of real estate, the parking industry, mentorship, and so much more. With an unquenchable thirst for excellence, Chavet consistently pursues the concept of highest and best in every endeavor, relentlessly pushing boundaries and creating opportunities where others may not see them. Her unique ability to connect with people on a deeper level, coupled with her knack for unblocking hidden potential, has not only propelled her to her success, but has also made her an invaluable female empowerment mentor. Chavet is a true beacon of light, inspiration, not just for herself, but for you, for me, and for all who aspire to reach their highest potential. Her journey serves as a testament to the boundless possibilities that await when one combines intuition, love, and unwavering dedication. That is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
The biggest thing I would love for people to take away from this is that you are not what has happened to you. You are what you did with what has happened to you. You are not the pain that you lived. You are what you did with the pain that you lived. You are not the memories that haunt you. You are the person in between those memories. And it's not one day just going to vanish. You're not just one day going to have absolutely no memory of the pain you've been through. It doesn't suddenly become like it's someone else's life and it doesn't feel real anymore. What it is that one day it's not all that you are. One day it's a part of you, and somehow, even though you probably never thought it would be the case, it's a part that you know if you hadn't have lived, you would not be the incredible person that you are, with the gifts that you are, with the insight that you have, with everything that you know that you couldn't have known deeply any other way. Like, this is part of your journey for a reason. If you've been through a difficult time, there was something for you to unlock during that. And if you haven't unlocked it, to just maybe take some time this evening to be with yourself and ask yourself, if I saw everything that happened to me as a catalyst, then what would be possibly available next? And what could I build? And it doesn't mean you need to build a gazillion-dollar empire and end up on the cover of Vogue magazine. It means you get to be loved every day of your life. You get to be inspired every day of your life. You get to feel like you belong every day of your life, and you feel like you made it and it was worth it. And that is the most beautiful thing any of us can wish for, that when someone asks, are you happy? That the answer to that question is yes. And so I want to thank you so much for this beautiful, heartfelt conversation, for your story, for your journey, for everything you shared with everyone. I appreciate you so, so, so much. Thank you for these 2 years. I've learned a lot having you in my world. And so thank you for all the awarenesses and all the learnings. For everyone that's here today, thank you so much for being with us. This was call 2 of 4. We have 2 more. One of them is a shorter one, but we've got some more incredible speakers coming with more life stories that really have the power to shift things one person at a time, one story at a time. Thank you, Chavet.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. I love you. I love you. I will see you on the internet.
Thank you.